Hello! Today I'm going to be giving another book review, and this week I have been reading Hater by David Moody. As you should already know, I'm starting to venture out of my normal comfort zone of what I normally like to read. Not that I have a normal taste really in books. I tend to just pick up something if I find it interesting, but I'm starting to read outside of my general fiction genre, if you can call it. And so this book is one of the library's horror books. There we go, that's on the side there. Yeah, so I'll read you the blurb on the back, and then I'll tell you a little bit about it. So it starts off with, "Remain calm, do not panic, take shelter. Wait for further instruction. The situation is under control." Society is rocked by a sudden increase in the number of violent assaults on individuals. The attackers, dubbed haters by the media, strike without warning. Normally rational, self-controlled people are changing within seconds into maddened, vicious killers. There are no apparent links, as 100 random attacks become 1,000, and then thousands, right across the country. Everyone, irrespective of gender, age, race, religion, or sexuality, has the potential to become a victim or a hater. People are afraid to go to work, afraid to leave their homes, and increasingly afraid that at any moment their friends, even their closest family, could turn on them with murderous intent. By the end of today, you could be dead. By the end of today, you could be a killer. So, the blurb on the back is something that kind of really caught my attention. I like the idea of not necessarily zombies. I do like zombie films, but I like that kind of unsuspecting, irrational behaviour, and you don't know where it's come from or what's going on, and it kind of is a bit unnerving. And also on the back here is a little quote from Guillermo del Toro, and he is the director of the film Pan's Labyrinth. I've not seen the film, but I have seen adverts for it, and it just looks a bit creepy, a bit weird. Not my kind of thing, although I do like creepy and weird, but it just seemed a bit too much. The only thing I can really remember from the adverts is a creature that's got kind of eyes in the middle of its hands or something. I don't know, but if someone who can create or direct a film that's that weird, they've kind of got to be trusted when it comes to dark and creepy and horror stories and things like that. So he says, "A head-spinning thrill ride, a cautionary tale about the most salient emotion of the 21st century. Hater will haunt you long after you read the last page." I was disappointed with this book. This is the first horror book that I've read, and it wasn't particularly frightening, and I wasn't necessarily expecting kind of jump out of my skin kind of scary book that I didn't want to read before I went to sleep in case I got nightmares kind of horror. But it's not even kind of that terrifying, oh my goodness, this could happen kind of feeling. Some things you read and they're they're a bit of a social commentary on how the world is changing, and how what the government is doing, and how we can be controlled and all that kind of stuff. And I like that. I like, people making predictions on the future of the world, considering, how quickly it's going downhill. And it's frightening to kind of see the direction in which, behaviours are going. But this book, I'm so angry. I just didn't enjoy it. I read it because I wanted to find out what happened. But I found it very tedious. There's a main character in it. His name is Danny, and he's just a very sad case. You have to feel sorry for the man. He works for the council, having to deal with when you get your car clamped because you've parked in a in a no parking zone or whatever. And he works in an office for a woman who just hates him. She hates him. She does whatever she can to make his life more difficult. And so he has to deal with her, and he has to deal with irate customers who are obviously upset that their car's being clamped. And if you see anyone talking to a traffic warden or anything, it's never calm. They're always very angry. And he doesn't have a very good relationship with his wife either. They don't seem happy together. They've got 3 children, and he admits he didn't want any of them. They were all kind of accidents or mistakes. So he goes to work all day. He works full time. He has to, you know, spend a lot of time commuting into work on crowded trains, walking through crowded streets, to get to work for a woman who, like I say, makes his life miserable. He then gets home. If he happens to miss his train and he's late, his wife just rips into him. She just has a go, treats him terribly, considering that he is working full time. They live in a really dodgy area, in a kind of a tower block. But there are only two families. Well, his family lives there, and then there's a couple upstairs. But the rest of the apartments are empty. The area is just a really bad area. His 3 children are really young. They go to school, and his wife works at one of the schools, but she ends up taking care of the children more than he does, because he's at work all the time, and she can kind of take care of it. She can take the kids to school, and then she works there. And yeah, he just seems like a really sad, like you really feel sorry for him, because he's working so hard, and she just takes him for granted. She expects him to be able to pull money out of his wallet at a drop of a hat to buy anything, and he can't afford it. You know, he can just about afford to pay the rent, buy the food, and that's it. And she doesn't seem to understand, and she doesn't seem to want to understand. And so it kind of follows him. You follow him through the story, and his life and everything. But kind of interspersed are examples of the haters and their random attacks on people. And it starts off with just a seemingly normal man walking through town, and he spots an old woman, and he just goes for her, and he attacks her, and he stabs her with his umbrella, and beats her up, and kills her. And that's kind of the first example of a hater attack. And as you go through, random attacks happen, and no one can explain it. There's no explanation for why somebody is attacking somebody else. The only thing that can be said is that the hater, the attacker, feels scared that the other person is going to attack them, and they're just protecting themselves. It's a defense mechanism. That's the only explanation that's really given, but it's not really an explanation, because the other person isn't going to attack them. There's no real reason for it. So it just goes through, like I say, Danny's life, and you find out about these attacks, and they're not that common, so people don't really take them seriously. I mean, one happens in a pub, and you can go to most pubs, and once people get drunk and somebody says something, somebody else could just react and punch them. It's not out of the ordinary for attacks to happen, and especially in the area that he's living in. Like I say, it's a dodgy, it's a rough area. Attacks happen. I'm not saying we should accept that they happen, but because people do get attacked so often nowadays, it's unfortunately not out of the ordinary. So you don't really raise an eyebrow. It's just like, oh well, somebody else got stabbed today. You can't really do anything about it. And as the story goes on, we find these attacks become more and more common, and that's when people start to kind of question what's going on. This is a little bit out of the ordinary. And then the news reports don't really explain anything. They're just saying stay at home, don't go out after dark, don't try to avoid people that you don't know, just keep yourself safe. And then what happens at the end is, it's really frustrating. It frustrates me so much, because it rings of the Nazis and the Jews, and I don't like that. I don't like how that idea is now something that people use for entertainment. If you're going to obviously use that idea and that kind of symbolism, use it in its base form, show how awful the Nazis were and that kind of thing. But It ends with the army or the police or whatever they are hunting down these haters and bundling them into the back of vans, not explaining what's going on, not telling them what's happening. They're attacking them and beating them and putting them in these vans and just piling them up, and they have no idea what's going on. And there's convoys of these trucks driving kind of to the middle of nowhere. No one, everyone's lost their bearings. No one can, work out which direction they're going in or what they're aiming for. And they end up just in queues of people. The soldiers or whatever, they've got masks on, they've got guns. They'll happily shoot anybody if they step out of line. And so all these haters are in these queues, and they're going towards tents. They don't know what's on the other side. When they get there, they have to give their name and their date of birth and their address, and they're kind of ticked off a list. And when they get into these tents, that's when they get killed. They get gassed. They get shot, and it just rings so much of Nazism. It was quite not uncomfortable, but it just felt really contrived and really forced. I need to think of something so terrible that's happening to these people. I know, I'll draw from the Nazis, and it irritated me. I can't say anything other than it irritated me. And like if anyone tries to escape, they just get shot in the back of the head. There's no two ways about it. And I just really didn't enjoy it, and I'm so angry because it just sounded like something that I would enjoy. So it's part of a series. I don't want to read the other books in the series. I don't want to find out what's going on. I was not drained by the end of this, but I just felt that I'd wasted a bit of my time reading it. So if you pick this up and you think, so that's going to be it's in the horror section. Yeah, it's not particularly scary. It's not particularly. It's gripping in as much as I wanted to know why this was going on. I guess that'll be explained in the other books. But like I said, I don't want to read them. I'm not bothered. They say it's a virus or these people have got an illness. I'm not that bothered where it came from, to be honest with you. And I hate feeling like that after I've read a book. I like to sit and read and enjoy it. And I know we're not going to enjoy everything, but this one I really didn't enjoy. So, yeah, sorry, David Moody, didn't like that one. But, yeah, if you want to read it, obviously feel free. This is just my opinion. So, I hope that's given you a bit of an insight into that book. And, yeah, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my book reviews or any advice that I give about writing or talking about my own writing. And I will see you soon. Bye bye.